Alright, puntahan na ho natin ang aming mga kasama dyan sa Batasan.
Mas marami ng kaso sa Vietnam.
A tussle, a huge conflict between Bebot Alvarez at the time and Gloria Arroyo, who eventually became Speaker. Bebot Alvarez, by the way, is one of the 119 congressmen who will be physically present, who are physically present in the plenary hall of the Batasan Pambansa. The rest, like we said, if they're not physically present, they are attending virtually via Zoom.
Cover ekonomiya. Pero
corruption exasperates.
Iginaputo na very safe at very short ang kanya pong hahakbangin lamang hanggang siya po'y makarating po dito sa mismong plenary hall at dito sa mismong tapat ng plenary hall. Anyway, ilang saglit lang lamang ay inaantabayan na noon natin at marami na ho dito sa ating mga mambabatas ang naka-ano na rin po, naka-ready na rin, nakaupo na rin. Yung first two rows, ito po yung ating po mga senador, no? Mula sa upper house. Kikitaw ninyo, ang pinakauna po doon sa upper area niyan ay walang iba kundi si House Majority Leader Mick Zubiri. At the same katabi ho niya si Senator Bong Revilla Jr. at si Senator Tolentino, if I'm not mistaken. At ang ilang pong mga senador ay nasa likuran po na si Senator Amy Marcos at ilan pa. At doon naman po sa panig ng mga mambabatas, nandun po sa kabila. Mostly, nandun po sa, if you're facing the flag, nasa kanang bahagi
0.9, 6.3 at 6.1. So, bumabagsak.
I'm not too sure because sometimes it is difficult to identify people because of the masks.
Attorney G, maraming salamat At yun nga, that sums up yung mga naging kapanayan natin kanina.
Yan ang sana pagpasa ng Public Service Act, Regional Trade Liberalization Law, at yung Investment Incentive Act. Lalo na, masasabi ko, Public Service Act, yan ang pinaka-importante kasi maliliberalize ang ownership at control.
Yan pong ilan po sa kanya pong miyembro ko ng pamilya po niya. Lalong-lalo na po ang panganay pong anak na si Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte na minabuti pong manatili na lamang po sa kanya pong hometown sa Davao City at papakinggan na lamang po ang speech sa kanya pong ama via virtual. Ganon rin po ang kanya pong bunsong anak na si Baste, ang Vice Mayor po ng Davao City. Siya tanging lamang po ang pangalawang anak po na si Congressman Pulong Duterte na siya rin pong kinatawan ng House of Representatives. Ito na, palabas na. Palabas na po ang ating Pangulong Duterte at ito nga po. Dito nga po. Ayun. Okay, ito na po, ay patuloy na po, ay naglalakad na po ang ating Pangulong Duterte. Patungo po dito.
Say na kailangan kasi ng isang kumukumpas mukhang dun tayo nagkukulang. Kanya-kanyang silos and therefore hindi nagtutugma-tugma kung minsan yung mga pahayag ng iba't ibang mga departamento ng gobyerno.
Peter, sir, gusto ko lang banggitin, Peter, na si Pangulong Duterte ay papalakad na po sa loob ng session hall, no? You can see it, Peter, from your end. I'm seeing it from
The plenary hall, accompanied, of course, again by Senator Bongo, a longtime aide of his, and of course, Senator Bong.
Angela.
Kanang bahagi po ng inyong mga TV screen, mga kasambahay, makikita niyo po ang live.
Yeah, Joyce, but
Now, speaking of stepping down, quite a number of netizens actually
Joyce?
So Peter, actually ito yung ito yung hinanda nilang
Exhibit.
mga achievements. Oo, ito yung achievements ng administrasyon na inihanda ng mababang kapulungan para makita ng Pangulo.
So mukhang meron pang meron pang pass in review kumbaga of the achievements. Oo. Ito na si Joyce Balancio, nasa linya na. Joyce, come in.
Yes, Peter at Karen, sa mga oras na to, yun nga, sabi nga ni Karen, no, tinitignan ni Pangulo Rodrigo Duterte yung exhibit kasi meron silang inilagay dyan sa loob ng House of Representatives na exhibit. I think ito yung mga achievements at ibang mga programa ng mga mambabatas. Ito yung nadaanan niya. Papunta na siya actually, ni-escort na siya papasok sana sa plenary hall ng House of Representatives. Kasama niya sa kanyang tabi si Senator Bongo. And we are expecting anytime soon siya ay makakarating na sa plenary hall kung saan siya ay i-announce ng Secretary General yung kanyang pagdating. And then tuloy-tuloy na yan, no? May programa yan kung saan mag-open sila ng mag-call to order itong liderato ng Kongreso. Ayan na parang taking his time si Pangulo Duterte sa pagtingin dito sa mga exhibit na to na kanya nadadaanan. Actually, kung titignan natin yung oras, on time naman siya kasi we were expecting him to speak around 4 p.m. and maaga siya nakarating. Minutes before 4 p.m. nandiyan na siya sa batasang pambansa. Binigyan siya ng military honors, sinalubong siya ng Secretary General din. And ngayon, malapit na siya. Ito yung bandang gitna na to ng labas ng pintuan ng session hall. Anytime soon, makikita natin siya lumalakad na sa red carpet at papasok sa center aisle. In-expect natin siya, dadalhin muna siya sa lower rostrum kasi sa upper rostrum, doon na nakaupo yung liderato ng Kongreso, si Senate President Kiko Soto at si House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco. Ayan, nakapasok na.
Alright, Joyce, pakinggan natin.
I-turn over na natin sa coverage dito dahil magsisimula na yung mismong programa dyan sa loob ng plenaryo.
Dire-diretso na nga po ang Pangulo para sa pagsisimula nito pong State of the Nation Address, ang kanyang ika-6 at huling talumpat. Yan.
Soto, ayun, si Speaker Velasco, kanyang fist bump, at 350 people ang kasya dyan sa loob.
Session is called to order.
On the part of the House of Representatives, the joint session is hereby called to order. Please rise for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem, to be led by Ms. Morissette Amon and accompanied by the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra.
Sa bibig mo'y buhay, lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa magdulubin, di ka pasisipin, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit ang pagkamay, bilang ang tuna at awit sa paglayang minamahal, ang kisap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nakiliglig, ang bituin ng araw niya kailan, ang may di magdidilim, lupa ng araw ng hatid pagsimba.
nagpapasalamat sa lahat ng biyayang binibigay mo po sa amin, sa aming mayaman na kalikasan, mga kakayahan at tibay ng loob. Maraming salamat po. Basbasan mo po at gabayan ang aming mahal na inang bayan at ang aming mga leader na pangalagaan ang aming kinabukasan bilang susunod na henerasyon ng aming mahal na Pilipinas. Gabayan mo po kami sa harap ng pandemya at protektahan mo po kami. Ipakita mo po sa amin ang tamang daan upang malagpasan namin ito. At lahat ng mga darating pang sakuna, kalamidad o anumang hamon. Lahat ng ito ay tinatanggap namin bilang pagsubok lamang upang lalo kaming sumampalataya sa iyo. Naway matamo namin ang ganap na pagkakaisa bilang isang bayan. Turuan mo po kaming maging mapagkumbaba at laging unahin ang aming kapwa bago ang aming mga sarili, lalo na ang mga kapuspalad, mga dumaraing at ang mga nais na marinig, pati na rin ang mga kababayan namin naghahatid ng mahalagang serbisyo sa kapwa, maging dito sa Pilipinas o sa ibang bansa.
Patatagin mo po sana kami bilang tao at bilang isang bayan na laging nananalig at naniniwalang hindi mo po kami pababayaan kailanman.
Salamat Panginoon sa lahat ng iyong blessing sa amin. Ito po ang aming dasal. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members of Congress, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
Kindly sit down. By far, this is the most beautiful SONA crowd that ever happened here. So many beautiful faces. And you only have to guess when you see the full face of the person. Senate President Vicente Soto III and the honorable members of the Senate, Speaking Lord Alan J. Velasco, and the honorable members of the House of Representatives, Vice President Maria Leonor Robredo, former Presidents Fidel V. Ramos, Gloria Arroyo, Speaking Lord Alan J. Velasco, and the honorable members of the House of Representatives, Vice President, members of the House of Representatives, Vice President, Excellency Archbishop Charles John Brown, the Chief Justice Alexander Gismondo, and the Justices of the Supreme Court, Executive Secretary, my fellow government workers, and of course, of the Cabinet, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, His Excellency Archbishop Charles. When I assumed the presidency 5 years ago, dominant in my mind for the dreams and visions of a better life, visions of a better life for all Filipinos. I saw them as reachable through the institution life for all Filipinos. I saw them as reachable through the institution of reforms and radical with the truth that the public office is a public trust. When I ran for the presidency, I just made fundamental processes, and strangely, you can count them by the fingers of your hand. I made those changes which I thought that was really, there was time and doable. To offer free education, it's there already. The universal health care, nandiyan na po. The fight against illegal drugs, criminality, and corruption, and the development structure, including free irrigation and other big-ticket projects, which I thought I did not have the funds to do it. But perchance, among others, they were done in my term. Today, as I approach my term, my end of my term, I have less visions, but more remembrances. But mine is not to review or to second guess what might have been, but to bear and respond with the urgency of the unforeseen events as they unfold. Even before I took the oath of office, and everyone else, I suppose, knew the gravity of the enormity of the problems that the country was facing. And precisely because of that awareness, I was driven to hasten implementation of changes which I believe the country needed, keeping in mind that the Constitution afforded me only 6 years to make those changes happen. Making a difference within the constitutional time frame is what I was up against. But no one gets by legally without warming to the needle's eye of the constitutional imperatives. That is why I cajoled, I shewed, I pushed, and I tangled with men of wealth and influence who were oblivious to the angst and pleas of the weak and of impoverished. And for that, I was pilloried to no end. But I did not succumb to the attacks. And neither did I allow criticisms, however intense, dampen my determination and initiatives, because my purpose was pure and unpolluted. While we were busy instituting reforms, the twin ogres of illegal drugs and corruption laid low for a while, only to resurface as still with us and make no mistake about it. Corruption is but another term of stealing people's money, dashing in its wake a nation's goals and aspirations. Due to the brilliant programs and excellent work of our economic managers and the extraordinary cooperation between the executive and legislative branches of government, our economy with investor confidence was poised to leapfrog from the company into the company of the world's fastest growing economies until COVID-19 pandemic stalled everything. Be that as it may, allow me this opportunity to extend my personal and the nation's gratitude to all those who selflessly gave their all in the fight against COVID-19, our health workers and other frontliners who risk their own safety. To keep our essential health services and our food supply chain running, boosting the economy activity and ensure peace and order in our communities. I would like also to extend my deepest appreciation for the generosity of the private sector who came to the government's aid in fighting COVID-19. I am profoundly thankful for your sustained assistance to fellow Filipino. And amidst the same deleterious effect of the pandemic to our respective industries, let me assure you that the government is committed to assess the private sector to regain the commercial vibrance of the country prior to the pandemic. To our local executives, this pandemic pushed you to step up and deliver responsive assistance. I'm glad to have seen you undertake new and heightened responsibility, working doubly hard to protect your constituents. To the international development partners who extended a helping hand amidst the global health emergency, the Philippines remembers your kindness and goodwill with sincere gratitude. And to all of you who answered the call to protect one another by adhering to our nation's protocols, daghang salamat. But then, let me ask, perhaps you and to myself, what exactly is the state of the nation today? In the light of the pandemic which has paralyzed business activities and crippled even the strongest world's economies, So, where do we go from here? Looking back to our accomplishments. In my first SONA, I laid down with utmost commitment and resolve the overall direction of my presidency. A comfortable life for all Filipinos anchored on a people-centered approach to development and governance. If I remember correctly, my administration, I said, will implement a human approach to development governance in our people's welfare in the areas of health, free education, adequate food and housing, environmental preservation, and respect for the culture. I bore no illusions that steering a nation towards a comfortable life for every Filipino would be easy. Indeed, the past 5 years have truly been challenging and humbling. I stand here before you today bearing no conceit, but if there is one thing that I could be proud of, is that not once did I waver in doing the unpopular, even if it meant upholding the greatest good for the greatest number. Before I took office, our country was beset with communist insurgency scattered across the nation. A separatist movement that sought to divide us on the basis of religion and religion's deficiencies, and the proliferation of illegal drugs and criminality. Our armed forces were ill-equipped to deal with internal and external threats, while the police force had been overwhelmed by criminality and the drug trade problem. This is why I made it a priority to strengthen the institution, boost the morale of the men and women of the armed forces of the Philippines and the Philippine National Police and other armed services. Again, I thank Congress for working with the Executive Department in enhancing capabilities of the AFP and PNP through our modernization program. In 2018, we raised the salaries of our military and uniformed policemen and personnel to a level commensurate to the critical role they play in upholding national security and maintaining order. I am asking Congress to pass a unified system of separation, retirement, and pension of military and uniformed personnel to maintain government fiscal flexibility and provide adequate benefits and remuneration to our men and women in uniform. This shall apply only to the new entrants of the military and civil. Hindi ho lahat. Cannot be that we have to pay so many, even the salaries of the retired. They get a chunk of the big budget. And if we include the new entrants, the funds available for them would not be enough. It is also high time for us to pass a law providing free legal assistance to AFP and PNP officers, enlisted personnel. To help them from charges arising from incidents related to the performance of official duty. The continuous upgrading of our defense capability shall ensure that we shall uphold our territorial integrity and sovereignty from external and security threats. Among the new additions, we welcome the country's 2 missile-capable warships to enable us to protect our seas by providing them with necessary equipment, by enhancing their professional capabilities and looking after the families of the soldiers who would not be longer be in their company. We do not only strengthen our military and police institutions, we also inspire them to serve this nation with the highest degree of loyalty and patriotism. We enable them to carry out their mandate to defeat all enemies of the state, whatever the cost. Indeed, I am proud of the accomplishments of our troops in securing our nation against all threats to our democratic institutions. But peace must be realized. Peace and security is not only just a military concern. That is why we deviated from the traditional purely military approach in dealing with matters of national security. With the creation of the National Task Force to End Communist Armed Conflict, or NTF-ELCA, we have made good strides in addressing the root causes of this conflict by empowering our kababayans who have been used by the communists for many decades. In our continuing effort to build state of safe and conflict-resilient barangays, we have worked towards the sustainable rehabilitation and development of communities where the communists used to operate. Through the NTF-ELCA, we invested in farm-to-market roads, school buildings, water and sanitation, health stations, and livelihood. Alam mo, kasali na tayo dito lahat. Always, every law or every regulation must pass Congress, of course, to the President. But sometimes, you know, in our, well, in the performance of our duties, we encounter the not so nice of confronting each other. But because of these interventions, more than 70 former 70,000, 17, former communist rebels have surrendered to government. They have returned to the folds of the law and are happily reintegrating programs or their local eclipse. It's either I am talking too fast or too slow, or the operator of this thing here is drowsy. Maybe because I had so many ad-libs along the way. Marami akong akin lang. Kaya yung nahinto ako when I stop and I'm process something in the gray matter between my ears, hindi humahabol o hindi alam ng operator. Hindi bali, ma'am, mahal pa rin kita. Lalaki ba ito o yung mga babae? Kagabi yung mga babae, sila? Oo, sabihin mo sa kanila, magipagkita ako maya. I will embrace them for their punctuality in operating this, this strange machine that gives you the speech. With the support of our local government units, I am confident that support for the communist movement will continue to erode in the next few months. Unlike the decades-old Moro rebellion in Mindanao, we also bring an end to the armed struggle of the communists once and for all. Sa totoo lang, itong komunista, college pa ako. Hanggang ngayon, ang mga sige pa rin. So, speech mo lang ito, kunwari lang, pero ang totoo, there's a lot of fighting going on in the countryside. But I'd like to credit the police and the military for destroying so many communist fronts. I think they have destroyed more than 15 apparatus or the fronts of the Communist Party of the Philippines. Alam mo, mag-istorya muna tayo sa taxation. I'd like to be frank with you. Everybody in this country are paying taxes to the communists. The Communist Party earns billions, but pass on a little to their fighting men who die for an ideology that is so rotten and corrupt. They themselves are pocketing the money and their children are studying in Europe and in other places, which I think none of you here can finance such journey. Yan ang masakit dito. They collect taxes, support season in Netherlands, and they do nothing but bad-mouth government and mouth, no, war dogmas and everything. Hindi na sila nagapagod. It's about 53 years in the making. And until today, the poor people are dying. The cadres, and most of them belonging to the indigenous tribes of our country, are fighting a losing battle between communists and the government. They waste lives, they enlist children, and they are proud of it, but they deny it. But when you go to the mountains, such as I and Senator go many times, even during the elections, they were there with so many arms that I think somebody, an idiot here in the Philippines, supplied the firearms. I'd like to ask Congress, especially Senator Bato, kindly dig on, because we have identified the person who imported the AK-47 into this country on the pretext of using it in the security, providing security and guards in all, in business establishments, and for those who can afford their home. This policeman, I think, is still there. He was a colonel, and she is still, walang nangyari. At maraming sundalong namatay dahil sa mga armas na pinasok nila dito sa Pilipinas. So that my orders to you, if you see them walking around, kindly shoot them dead. We would be happy. Anyway, you're already charged in the ICC together with me. So what is the problem of adding another one? Another idiot Filipino who has caused great damage to our country. Yan ho ang totoo dyan. At itong mga pulis, but let me go back in time. When I first said I will fight drugs in 6 months, I thought it was like in Davao. You can either coerce, intimidate, or bribe them, or give them money. I said, lumabas kayo ng Davao, doon kayo magkalat sa Luzon at sa ibang lugar. Huwag dito sa Davao. Naniniwala naman ang mga ulol at we were able to attain a sense of normalcy in the city. Yun ho ang totoo. There are people charged with corruption and even going to prison for just maybe not telling the truth in their assets and liabilities. Nakukulong itong mga police were doing their thing, their drugs. They were the manufacturers and they were the distributor of drugs. When I became president, I asked De La Rosa, he was the chief of police of my city, I promoted him direct to be PNP chief. 4-star na kaagad automatic. But I told him, and the others, look for the enemies. Look for where they are. And if you find them, destroy the apparatus. Destroy all, from the manufacturers to the peddlers. Because we are fighting a drug war that was being participated in the business by 9 generals of the PNP. Kaya ang sakit sa loob, I did not know that I was fighting my own government. Customs and everyone else were facilitating the importation of drugs. And one importation, as you can see every night on TV, the police now sees about almost 1 billion worth of drugs every day. And if you look at the 888, there are about 1,000 Filipinos arrested every day by the police in connection with drug trafficking. And that is why I go crazy looking at the situation. They are still around. We do not have the laboratories now because nawala na sila. At itong naiwan ngayon are doing the importation. The citizens of another country cook their shabu in their in their tugboat or something, and they throw out the product contained in the plastic bags and with GPS attached to the contraband so that the importers here could find them easily. That is how we are fighting, almost losing a battle against drugs. And now, the Sinaloa gangsters of Mexico and the triad of Laos in that area. They are busy cooking, and we have the Filipinos here with nothing in their mind except to destroy a nation, distributes them. That is what I said. I've been asked the question, and several times I gave the answer. I am a Filipino, and I love my country. I do not want my country in disarray because of drugs. I do not want families break up and become dysfunctional. Yun ang masakit sa akin. If you want to destroy a family, look for a way of the member or the resident of that family home. Biglang mo na droga. Pag nandyan na yung droga at they are hooked, and that is the end. Sometimes families are separated because of drugs, becomes dysfunctional, at yung mga